Hey, this is Glover Teixeira, UFC light heavyweight champion.
Hi, I'm Robbie Lawler.
What's up, fight family? This is your favorite MMA coach, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Pedro Munoz.
This is Mike Brown.
Guys, I am Alexei Olenek, and welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And this is We Want Picks.
And you're watching We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks. Hi everybody from American Top Picks.
My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to walk through the entire UFC Vegas 48 fight card. I'm going to give you my picks. I'm going to give you some insight, and I'm going to give you my favorite plays for DraftKings. We're going to talk about who's worth the money, who is not worth the money. Couple things to note. One, there are only 10 fights currently listed in DraftKings. There's 12 fights on the card. There were a couple of shifts and changes in the last few days, so the UFC will get that pricing over to DraftKings likely in the next few days, and when they do, I'll give you some insight on those newly added fights as well. And two, if you want your crack at $50 free from us, go to wewantpicks.com/DraftKings. We have a free DraftKings league. Sign up, join the league, join our free contest, and play in these games. And if you win and you're a member of this channel, I send you $50. This week, the winner was a member. I literally paid him $50 this morning. So that's wewantpicks.com/DraftKings. And to become a member, click the join button under this video. Normally, I just sort this by most expensive fighter to least expensive fighter and do it that way. But today, we're just going to do it in fight order. So let's go to the bottom here. We're going to start with the very first fight. And the very first fight that DraftKings has is Jesse Schroeder versus Chad Helegar. Jesse Schroeder, he's coming off that TKO loss to Montel Jackson, which we see here. Dude only scored 6 points, but that is what it is. That was his UFC debut. He did take it on short notice. Since then, he's had a fight booked, and that fell through. But stylistically, Jesse's always moving forward, ton of action guy, solid pace, nice power, traditional boxer. So he does a really good job of lighting up the body, then coming to the head. And it's an interesting fight because he's fighting Chad, and Chad over here is making his official UFC debut, but he's also a striker. He's a really well-rounded fighter, and he's got power in his hands and solid BJJ. It's interesting because he has sweeps if it gets to the ground, and Chad is a really, really well-rounded guy. So I like Chad to win this fight. So obviously I'm not going to have Jesse in my lineup, but Chad is a bit expensive at $9,100 because, again, this is his official UFC debut. So that's a pretty wide line. That's a lot in, putting the faith into this guy who is making his UFC debut. He hasn't lost since 2014. Again, he's a power striker, solid jiu-jitsu. I do like him to win. If you think he's going to get a stoppage, then go for that 9,100. But I'm always weary about spending that kind of money on a UFC debut. Then we go to Diana Balbita and Gloria De Paula. Diana Balbita is a high-pressure volume striker, always coming forward. She's got good BJJ on the ground. She's got decent ground and pound, but sometimes she'll make poor decisions in fights, and she's mostly a striker. She is coming off a nice win over Hannah Goldie where she just put on the pressure and got that done. This loss to Jojua, this is what I'm talking about when I say sometimes she makes bad decisions. You see this takedown, you see that sub loss? She was dominating the stand-up, decided to get it to the ground, and then got submitted from there. She did not need to do that, but had a nice bounce-back win. Diana Balbita, good striker, very talented, pretty good overall, and she's fighting Gloria De Paula. And Gloria De Paula is another good striker. She's got solid accuracy. She's got a really nice clinch, and her striking style is more of a stick and move than just come at you with sheer pressure. She is looking for her first UFC win. This one against Frey, this was just lack of experience in this loss. The one against, this was Cheyenne Bays at the time. Now it's Vlismas because of a divorce. This one, she just got caught. So, you see the two losses. It's a little tricky. She is looking for that first win. I like Diana Balbita here, and these women are priced basically even. So I'm going to go with Diana Balbita. She will probably be in my lineup because this is the fight that I'm expecting. I'm expecting something like this with some high volume, staying in the face. I do think Paula's the better striker, but I think Balbita's forward pressure can get some volume in there. And I do like Balbita to get takedowns because, yes, she got takedowns in these fights. Of course, she was submitted here, but Gloria DePaula is nowhere near the submission artist that Jojua was. So I like Diana Balbita to win, and anytime you get these lines that are only $200 apart, it's a solid play for your DraftKings lineup. Then we've got Chaz Skelly, and he's fighting Mark Striegel. Spoiler alert, Chaz Skelly will be in my lineup. I think $8,700 is a decent price to pay because he's got a ton of volume as far as striking is concerned. He can get some really solid takedowns, and he's been through a bunch of training camps. You'll see he hasn't fought since 2019, but he did go through some training camps. In his last fight, he actually was out there in the cage waiting, and his opponent just didn't come out because he was having back spasms in the back. And the point there is that Chaz Skelly has been in shape. He's been training. He's been expecting the fight. So it's not just some really long layoff and nothing's happened in between. But if you go back, I mean, technique-wise, his jiu-jitsu is so slick. He loves to mix it up on his feet, and he loves to chase those submissions. And if we get some stuff like this, Gritzmacher, Blanco, and we get some of these submission wins, we're going to score well. Even if in a decision, he scores really well because his grappling is so solid. He got a reversal. He had a takedown and a ton of control time here. So I like Chaz Skelly. I love that he's under the $9,000 mark, but let's take a look at Mark Striegel, and he has only have that one fight in the UFC where he lost to Umar Nurmagomedov. But listen, he also has some chain wrestling. He's got his own takedowns. On his feet, he does have some technique, but he never really looks comfortable striking. He doesn't really fully commit to any of that stuff. But I do like Chaz Skelly to dominate here. Chaz Skelly's perfectly comfortable brawling. He's great on the ground. So even if Mark gets those takedowns, he could be in some trouble. So I like Chaz Skelly here quite a bit. I think he's technically sound on his feet, and he's willing to slug it out. And he's got a whole bunch of takedowns. And then on top, tons of pressure. So Mark Striegel will not be in my lineup. Then we have Jessica Rose Clark, and she's taking on Stephanie Egger. So Jessica Rose Clark, predominantly a striker. She's known for her striking. She's known for her, her boxing, her power, her combinations. And then she came out here in her last fight with 5 takedowns. 5 takedowns. We always knew she had some takedowns, but we've never really seen this extent of it. And she had coming back after a year layoff, and it seems like she added that to her game. She was unapologetic. Some people thought that fight was boring, and she said, listen, I came out there, I did what I had to do. And for DraftKings, for people like us, that is fantastic because takedowns score really, really well. And yes, she was coming off that knockout over Alpar and scored even better. But the reality is knockouts at this, in this weight class are few and far between. So I will take a Jessica Rose Clark. I will expect her, if you take a look at Stephanie Egger, her opponent, I will expect her to work in some takedowns because Stephanie Egger has some real power in her hands. She's got some solid striking. She just marches forward, looks to tie you up, and goes from there. But if you slug it out with her, she can put you down, as we saw here. So I do like Jessica Rose Clark to win. I think she's the more well-rounded fighter. I love the takedowns that she's added. So I will go with Jessica Rose Clark. I'll probably figure out how to put her in my lineup because if we can get multiple takedowns out of her, I think she'll score really well. If she wants to stand and bang with Stephanie Egger, she could find herself in some trouble because Stephanie Egger does have some real power. But we saw the takedowns. She was super comfortable with them, did really well. So it'll probably be more of the same, and that's what I will be hoping for with her in my lineup. Then we've got David Onama. He's fighting Gabriel Benitez. David Onama, he's a kickboxer. He likes to plot forward, control the pace. He typically doesn't have a lot of volume, but he is effective. He fights tough, and then he really lets it all go when he gets comfortable and he finds a rhythm. He's always moving forward. He's slowly cutting angles, which keeps people on their heels. He's got a super long jab, and he's constantly throwing it out there. He is coming off of this loss to Mason Jones. He was taken down 8 times in that fight. But what's really impressive is he scored 43 points. He got off 90 significant strikes, and that's in a fight where he was taken down 8 times. So A, the dude can get up. B, he can really put it out there, really make things happen. And in this fight, he made some stuff happen. 43 points in a fight where you're taken down 8 times is honestly an incredible score. And he's fighting Gabriel Benitez. Gabriel Benitez is a really good kickboxer. His kicks are fantastic. He's got solid movement. He picks his shots well, and he has really good power. His takedown defense is only 56%, but this is an interesting fight. And I do like David Onama to win. So I'm going with the favorite here, but Gabriel Benitez should be a live dog at $7,800 because he can go out there, he can swing with the best of them, and he could chop down that tree with those legs. So I do think Benitez will have the experience and certainly the grappling advantage. But if you dig into Onama's fights, you'll see that even outside of that loss to Mason Jones, where he was taken down 8 times, he does struggle with the grappling. So I think Onama is a slight favorite here. He is my pick, but Gabriel Benitez can work in some grappling and absolutely steal this fight. So I am not going to have Onama in my lineup. And depending on how budgets work out, Gabriel Benitez is solid. I wish he was a little cheaper, but he's a solid play, to make up some room there with an underdog, because you always need underdogs in your lineup. And we got Joaquin Buckley, and he's taking on Abdul Razak Al-Hassan. This fight has been rebooked from UFC Vegas 47. Al-Hassan had to pull out then. But Joaquin Buckley, I mean, it's all knockouts across the board. Every fight, he's knocking you out or he's getting knocked out. Stocky, powerful, comes in, tons of pressure, works the body, comes up to the head, and he's coming off, not coming off of, but he had the greatest knockout in the history of knockouts right here against Kansanganai. And go Google it if you haven't seen it. It's absolutely incredible. So listen, this is even as far as pricing is concerned for the most part, because Razak Al-Hassan fights very similarly. He's putting people out. He's getting put out. He's a little more durable than we see Joaquin Buckley as far as being able to survive an onslaught. And it's an interesting matchup. You can honestly just pick your side. They're nasty strikers. But I do like Joaquin Buckley in this matchup. When it gets a little closer, I'll see what the scale looks like and how they're going here. But I like Joaquin Buckley because he's faster, he's more athletic. But Razak Al-Hassan, everybody's forgetting that he's a very high-level judo guy. He just doesn't use it. He fell in love with his hands. He fell in love with his striking, so he doesn't use his judo. But if he works in his judo, all of a sudden he's a completely different person, a completely different threat. So you could grab either one of these guys, frankly. But I like Joaquin Buckley to win. One of these guys is probably going to get a knockout. So, grab the side that you're most comfortable with there. And we've got Jonathan Pierce. This is sort of a makeup fight here because Jonathan Pierce was originally supposed to fight somebody else. That opponent dropped out, and now he's got himself Christian Rodriguez on the other side of the cage. So Jonathan Pierce, he's a solid wrestler. He sets a nice pace, gets a bunch of takedowns, works really well on the ground. He took down Omar Morales 6 times. 6 times in this fight. And that's where this 123 points came from. Kai Kamaka, 5 times, 134 points. $9,300 is a freaking ton of money to spend. But when you're putting up numbers like this because you're getting finishes and you're getting takedowns and you're really making things happen, it's worth it. Jonathan Pierce will be in my lineup. Christian Rodriguez, he's taking it on short notice. He's got a Contender Series win, so we're not going to see any stats here because Contender Series doesn't go towards DraftKings. But he's a slick striker. He's got solid movement. He's got some good speed. He's got some good takedown defense. But I don't think any of that is enough. He bounces between 135 and 145. Jonathan Pierce at 145 just going to be too big, be too dominant with the grappling, and he's absolutely going to get it done. So no shot. I have Christian Rodriguez in my lineup. I love Jonathan Pierce here, and I do think he'll score well. Then we got Nicholas Mata coming off the Contender Series, and he's going to go ahead and fight legend Jim Miller. No stats again because he's a Contender Series guy, and they don't have stats. But if you look at Jim Miller, we'll have like 45 years worth of stats because he's set so many records as far as longevity is concerned. Jim Miller is a nasty grappler, not a very good wrestler, but his striking is actually pretty technical. And he's a durable guy that has been here for a very long time. He's got veteran savvy. He's got the grappling. He's typically pretty durable, but he is starting to age out. He's coming off of this win over Eric Gonzalez, who was at the time a decent prospect. And then Jim Miller outstruck him, and this was a standing. He knocked him out on his feet. He didn't take him down and elbow him in the mouth, which is what people expect as far as Jim Miller fights are concerned. But don't let that fool you. Jim Miller is not a striker. Nicholas Mata, his opponent, is a very good striker. He's explosive. He's athletic. He moves well. He's got solid speed. His striking is diverse. And he has solid takedown defense, which will matter in this fight. And again, Jim Miller does not have the best takedowns. So some solid takedown defense and great hands. I see Nicholas Mata getting it done. But again, these inexperienced guys, he's fighting a legend. I don't love Nicholas Mata at $8,500. That's actually a decent price point, but I don't love him there, and Jim Miller's super durable, so I'm not going to touch that fight. I'm certainly not going to have Nicholas Mata in it. Then we go to my buddy Parker Porter. I know him personally. I am friends with him in real life, so take this breakdown for what it is, right? There's my disclaimer that I may be a little biased here. Parker Porter, very good striker, underrated wrestling. He's a durable guy. He's got some power. If you look here at these significant strikes, I think he set the heavyweight record for most significant strikes thrown, and then he broke it in this fight against Chase Sherman. It may be in any weight class, not just heavyweight. There's some caveat there, but he set a significant strike record, and then he broke his own record in back-to-back fights. This loss to Chris Daukaus, he took that fight on short notice. He was like 300 pounds, had a 3-week-old baby, took the fight in a couple weeks' notice, and he basically just rolled off the couch, dropped all the weight to go out there into that fight. So it wasn't a camp. He wasn't ready. He wasn't expecting to fight. But if you watch the fight, he did have some success there. Obviously, he was stopped. But he did have some success in those exchanges, which is why I was positive he was going to win his next 2 fights. And I think he's going to win here as well. He's fighting Alan Bedoe. Alan Bedoe, feast or famine guy. He's either putting you out or getting put out. He's looking for his first UFC win, but he has never seen a judge's scorecard ever in his entire career. He comes forward. He's a pretty competent striker. He's got some okay power, and he's willing to give one to get one. He's willing to get knocked out to chase a knockout, and that's basically what has happened in these fights. And it's an interesting matchup because I think Alan Bedoe is very dangerous on his feet, but Parker Porter does have that underrated wrestling. Parker Porter's got very good grappling, and if he just drops down, takes some shots, Alan Bedoe is a fish out of water on the ground. So I like Parker to win this fight. It's heavyweight bangers, so he's definitely, some risk there as far as striking is concerned. But if they hit the ground, there'll be leagues and worlds apart. So hopefully Parker comes out there, plays a smart game, gets the takedown, and gets it done. The co-main event is not in DraftKings for some reason, which I don't understand because that's been booked longer than the Jonathan Pierce fight. So I don't know why that's not in DraftKings, but that's Kyle Daukaus. He's fighting Jamie Pickett. That's gone. We'll talk about that when that fight's here. And then we have the main event. We've got Jamal Hill versus Johnny Walker. Jamal Hill, tall, rangy guy. He comes forward. He picks his shots really well. His striking differential is incredible at 7-3. So he's hitting people way more than he's getting hit in return. He's primarily a boxer, but he does have some solid kicks. And he typically does not have incredible power, but he just straight up knocked out Jimmy Crute. He was a big underdog in this fight. When his fight against Paul Craig pulled guard and basically broke his arm. So this says KO TKO. This was, I guess there was not a knockout. His arm broke, and then the referee stopped it. So his chin wasn't an issue here. His arm literally broke. And then the knockout with St. Preux. A lot of his knockouts, if you look at historically, it's because his accuracy is so solid. He gets you to fall behind. He gets you on the cage, and he just starts lighting you up until the ref comes in. He usually doesn't have that one punch, sleep you type power, but he's a very good striker that's really been making things happen. And again, he didn't even tap out. The ref had to stop it because his arm broke. He had one broken arm, and he was punching Paul Craig with the other broken arm. So that just tells you how tough Jamal Hill is. But let's go ahead and take a look at Johnny Walker because I actually like Johnny Walker in this fight. I will have Johnny Walker in my DraftKings lineup. I like him to win. Listen, this is not a great look, okay? Coming off of that decision loss to Thiago Santos, only scored 19 points. That is not a great look. And it was a really weird fight. He moved over to Conor McGregor's gym, and Conor McGregor's coach is telling him to, in the 5th round, the fight was basically 2-2, and this coach is telling him, take your time, feint, you don't need to attack, which was terrible advice, and he lost the decision. He just looked slow and out of sorts in that fight, because typically Johnny Walker is a very fun, aggressive striker who's mixing in all sorts of spinning techniques and wild kicks, and he's a massive guy with power, and he's absolutely willing to strike it out with people and do some crazy stuff while doing that. For some reason, he's been tamed lately. Hopefully, you take him out of that. He finds who he is again, and he comes out there long, tall, rangy, awkward, and he can give Jamal Hill some trouble. So I get it. This is not a great look, right? He knocked out Ryan Spann. That was a great look. But before that, he lost to Misha Krylov. Corey Anderson slept him. But that was, I don't want to say a fluke because it happened, but that was very surprising to everybody. But we need this Johnny Walker back. The Johnny Walker from 2 years ago that comes out there doing all sorts of wild striking techniques to get it done. I get it. He seems to have lost a step since the Corey Anderson loss. 35 in this decision, 19 in this, and then he was stopped. Then he knocked out Ryan Spann in between. But he is a durable guy. He's a durable guy. He's got a lot of techniques, and he's a very, very, very talented guy. Hopefully, there's some lessons learned in that last fight. Look at the layoff. It was a full year layoff. This is a much faster return. Hopefully, he's more comfortable. He's going to get things going again and be who he was. So I'm going to take one last shot on Johnny Walker. I'll have him in my lineup, and if he comes out looking like a 19-point fighter in a decision loss or a 35-point fighter in a decision loss, then I'm done with him. But I am going to take the chance. I think his awkwardness, his experience, I think he can give Jamal Hill an issue because Jamal Hill's very tall and rangy, but Johnny Walker, they're basically the same size. So should be interesting. Should be a fun night of fights. I will do an updated breakdown once they add the rest of these fights. Make sure you go to wewantpicks.com/DraftKings. Join our free league. Become a member of this channel by clicking the join button below and try to get yourself $50 free from me to you. I'll see you later this week.